Hello everyone, this is part 2. If you did not see the part where I tried the code and connected to the server, please go back and have a look at it because this won't make as much sense. So now I'm doing changing the port. So I'm going to use port 8501. So you see here the instructions for changing the port. It says copy the code to server 2 PY, change the port, and choose a port in the range of 8000 to 8999. So I've chosen that range because the VPN will allow us to get to it, but it's also a decent range to use. It's not often used. So let's take a copy of the code. server2.py. And of course they're executable, so that's no problem. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to listen on 8501 because that's what I said I was going to do. And then of course this should be 8501. And then of course I have to change my port here. 8501. So I've changed the code and it should be executable. And what are the questions? It says, can you run the server code using a different port? So let's give it a shot. It's always a good idea to think about the question before and see what you think the answer will be, and then experiment and see if it works. So I think it will work because I'm using a different port, so that's good. And this port is not being used, and I can bind to 127001. So let's look at server2.py. We'll run it. It's taken a while to run. That's interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put it in the background. That was silly. So since I forgot to put it in the background when I ran it, what I have to do is I have to use BG to make sure that it runs. And it's number 2. So there's BG2, so now it's running. So if I use netstat, I should see it. There's my netstat. So let's do 8501. And there it is. And there's the PID of the process that I launched. So it's listening. So yes, I can run my server code using a different port. That's no problem. Because the combination of port and protocol, and the reason for that is the combination of port, protocol, and IP address are unique. And it says, can you run both server PY and server PY2 at the same time in the background? Does it work? Why or why not? And again, as I said, think about it. I think it'll work because the port, IP, and protocol will be unique. So I'll be using a different port. So let's see what it says here. So we're going to run server.py. And it says address already in use. I must still be running it. So let's check this out. Maybe what I will do is sudo netstat, and instead of grepping for 8, I'm going to grep for 127, so see what's bound to that port. So I'm getting more information than I really need, but it says here, okay, so I'm already running server 2. I'm still running it. And if we take a quick look, we can see here it's my process Python 3. So this is the PID. So I was still running the server. So yes, it looks like I can, and I can because they're unique. But just like before, if I try to run another instance of server 2, I can't. And I try to run another instance of server 1. Well, let's just do this, server. I can't. So I can run it once, but then when I try to run it again, it's trying to reuse the same port. So it's an error. So what's the other question then? It says, can you talk to each of them using netcat? What do you have to change to talk to server 2? Well, let's see what happens. So I should be able to use, let's go back to netcat. So that I quit. So now that process is also gone. So as you can see, once I consume, this socket is only made once, and then once I consume it, it's gone. Or once I talk to it, it's gone. It's just the way the code was written. It's not written like a fancy server. But the other one's still going, so let's try and talk to that. So instead of instead of using 8111, which was my server, I want to use 8501, which is the second instance of my server. And then once that's finished, this is also done. So nothing is listening anymore. None of my processes are listening anymore. Those are other processes. So what was the question? It says, can you talk to each of them using netcat? Yes, I can do that. What do you have to change to talk to server 2? Well, if I want to talk to server 1, I have to use the port for server 1. If I want to talk to server 2, I have to use the port for server 2. It's like the pizza delivery analogy. So they're all in the same building. They're all in in this building, but one is in apartment 8111 and the other one is in apartment 8501. So if I want to talk to somebody, I have to go to the right place. So that's what I did there.